Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Nazarene Veronica and today I'm back with another reaction video. So I've been asked to react to Tucker Carlson's interview with Alex Jones, which if anyone knows me, not even well, just if anyone knows me, they'll know that I have views which almost completely coincide with Alex Jones's views. So yeah, that's probably why I've been asked to react to this video. I haven't actually watched this video before, so I'm gonna react to it for the first time and share my views on it, let you know what I think about it. I think Alex Jones is just great. Anyway, let's get into the video. Let's see what he's got to say.
I want, for people who've made it this far, you know, the people around the country have really succeeded in making you disreputable. And the whole point, of course, is people won't listen to you. So we thought it'd be interesting to start with a series of on-tape predictions that you made, some of which are so precise and so prescient that it makes the hair on my arms stand up. And I'm being sincere, and our viewers are about to see what I'm talking about. Here is a list of things that you called ahead of time.
By the middle of September, that the new policy is being written, you will all have to wear masks again, and so will airport employees.
It's happening. Mask mandates are officially back.
We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun, or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s,
this group and its leader, a person named Osama bin Laden,
he's the boogeyman they need.
We're looking at a giant war in February right now. I predict the Russians are going to roll in. They're already there. They're going to roll in.
With attacks across Ukraine, which is the size of Texas.
It really was the Iraqis. That's just because they're getting ready to invade Iraq. What a beautiful setup.
Wow. It's just crazy. This is why I love him so much, because he's predicted so many things which actually happened so soon after he was predicting them to happen. Things that you can't explain. You can't explain it any other way. Like, it's clear it was planned. Like, he's not just making these things up and just, you know, it's not like a prophecy of any kind. It looks like one. It feels like one, because it seems almost impossible for a man to be able to know these events are coming. Like, there are events that nobody would, or the average person would not be able to see coming. But he has been able to see things coming over and over again. He's been proven right over and over again. And at this point, people cannot argue with him anymore, because they're seeing these things unfolding when he's saying they're going to unfold. So many details that he gets correct. It's crazy. And yeah, he's a massive reason as to why I speak up now. Like, he is probably one of the first people I watched who got me thinking, and I didn't agree with him at first, and soon I couldn't not agree anymore, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
Those 9/11 clips are crazy. I'm actually bothered by the precision of them. I'm not accusing you of being behind 9/11. But how could you, in July of 2001, call that? You said they're going to have airliners fly into the World Trade Center and they're going to blame a guy called Osama bin Laden. No, leaving aside what actually happened, how could you have known that?
Well, in the longer clips, because it's a multi-hour show from July 25th, 2001, I specifically walked through all the reasons, and I knew that they were hyping up that we were about to be hit by Osama bin Laden. I knew that the World Trade Center had been attacked the first time and that the Feds had been involved helping cook the bomb and allowing it to go forward. And I just saw a lot of the pre-programming that was happening in the media, because they were on the news saying, you know, life's about to change in America. And I was reading what the RAND Corporation was saying and what the Pentagon was putting out. And I read the PNAC document from a year before, Rebuilding America's Defenses, that Dick Cheney had helped write. And it said we need a Pearl Harbor event on the American homeland to be able to bring in this police state and this control, and then expand the American empire worldwide. So hundreds of pieces of data went into that prediction.
But terrorists are going to hit the World Trade Center in July of 2001. I lived in the United States then. That was the last thing on my mind. And I lived in Washington. I know the guys who wrote the PNAC document because I shared an office with them. So I was more informed than the average person. And that was the last thing that crossed my mind in the summer of 2001. Like everyone else, I thought it was a Cessna. But how convinced were you that this was going to happen?
I was completely convinced. In fact, in the full clip that's online, you can find it on Twitter and other places, it has been removed. I explained to people that they need to call the White House and tell the White House, we know if you allow these attacks that you're basically allowing it to happen. And it was similar to all the data we had when I
Well, you said that on your show?
on my show. And I gave the number out so people could actually call the White House. And then
That is amazing. That is so amazing. Like, you can't make this stuff up. It's all there. How can anyone disprove him at this point? Like, I don't understand. There are still people out there who still truly believe that he is just a lunatic and a conspiracy theorist. That, you know, they can't remove that from their mind. I think it's denial. Some may say it's pure stupidity. I don't know. I think people deep down know what's going on. They just refuse to admit it because it's so evil. But he's exposing this evil, and I'm so glad that someone's doing it as eloquently as strongly as he is.
going back to October of last year, when the Russians went into Ukraine, I specifically said I think they'll go in by the end of February, and there was a lot of data that went into that, and then they specifically did go in on February 24th, and so I was able to make that prediction as well. But there was a lot of data and information that went into it.
Sure. I'm just, for the record, I miscalled that completely. I didn't think they were going to do it. You were right. I was wrong, not for the first time.
Someone can admit they're wrong. I'm so glad people are able to do that because nowadays it's a rarity. It is a rarity.
But the 9/11 thing, I remember that really well. Nobody was thinking like that. So you called it in public on tape. Did the 9/11 Commission... So if I'm the FBI and I'm investigating 9/11, you're like the first guy I would call because you're the only person who said that out loud. Did they call you?
No, they didn't. But my most accurate prediction, going back over a decade, was when I read the Rockefeller Foundation Operation Lockstep, and they described using a virus to bring in world government, to bring in a world medical ID, that they would then build the social credit score off of, and that they would make people wear masks for fear, that they would shut down sporting events and things like that, and basically phase in this new tyranny. So I was also able to specifically make that prediction over and over and over again because I was going off their own battle plans.
Are you the only person in media who actually reads these reports?
I don't think a lot of people do read them, but I do read them. I mean, I'm currently reading MIT reports from their top councils, Pentagon reports. They have a working group called the Mad Scientist Group at the Pentagon that works with MIT. And if you go watch their hour-long, 2-hour-long, 3-hour-long meetings they have on YouTube, with all the tops, I mean, we're talking hundreds of top scientists, they admit that they're building a post-human world, that soon everyone's going to be mind-controlled, that they're going to put smart dust in our food that they can electromagnetically control, and they just lay it all out right there.
This is the elites, I'm going to say, the ones who are at the top, the billionaires who have a lot of control and power in this world. I'm not going to name names, but these kinds of organizations that at the moment are more like a world government at this point because seemingly all countries go to them for advice. These people are evil, in my opinion. I believe that they are evil. I believe that they do worship their own version of God, who is not really God, but is the other opposite force to God, if you know what I mean. These people, their number one rule is to tell you what's going on. They have to tell you what their plans are. They have to tell you what they're going to do to you. And they lay out their plans in these reports that Alex is talking about. They have reports written. They let you know what their plans are. They have dates as well. These things are all out there to read. People just don't read them because they are either too lazy to do so or too trusting in the government to read anything which goes against the government, because nowadays we're told anyone who goes against the government is a mental case. Couldn't be further from the truth, obviously. Yeah, they have to tell you what they're going to do. That's the number one rule, because then you're agreeing to it almost. You know about it. They've let you know. They might give a different reason as to why they're doing it. They might seem like they've got good intentions, but they have to tell you, and then you accept it. And that's their number one karmic rule for, Satanists, basically. And that's how they do it. So yeah, all these things are out there. You just got to read them. And Alex luckily reads them for people who can't be bothered to read them themselves. And he tells you what's going on. So it's pretty good.
And I've learned what these people said in the 50s they would do were done by the 70s. What they said their plan was in the 70s for the 90s, they got done. And then when they had their Agenda 21 in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, the big UN summit, they described everything they would do up until the year 2000, and they got almost all of that done. Now they've got Agenda 2030, and we're going to ban your gas stoves. We're going to ban beef. We're going to ban single-family dwellings. We're going to ban private ownership of cars. We're going to do all this, and now you see them rolling it all out. So I'm not really making predictions in these high-level World Economic Forum and other large think tank groups. They are laying out the future, and they're high priests of the World Economic Forum. It's a consortium of all these groups. Yuval Noah Harari, you can read his quotes. The future's not human. The human era is over. The public is useless. I mean, this is a very anti-human system. So that's how I'm able to make predictions, because they've given us a roadmap. They tell us where they want to take us. And so when the public wakes up, we push back on some of it, but they always come back. And so I'm just following the trajectory of where they say they want to take us. And there were a lot of white papers, not just the PNAC document from 2000, a year before 9/11, where they describe we really need big terror attacks. We really need Pearl Harbor events to get Americans to give up their rights. I mean, take what just happened in Israel. Totally tragic. My heart goes out to all the been killed or lost loved ones or been injured. But there's no way that one of the best intelligence agencies in the world didn't know that was coming. The massive buildup, the 5,000 missiles, the paragliding attacks, all of that. And so there was clearly a stand down there. And now the West will take more of the people's rights. Israel will be able to crack down and take more of their people's rights, which is a big debate over there. Hamas is being funded by Hezbollah, which is Iran.
It's literally all by design. This is what people don't seem to get. It's all by design. They do these things. They create these massive events to make us weak, to make us depressed, to make us feel all these negative emotions, because when we feel negative emotions, we are very easy to control because we are vulnerable. You know, we're looking to a leader, to someone who can come and save us from all of this depression and all of these sad events and all of these evil people who are seemingly trying to kill us, but really they're the puppets. And the ones who are really trying to kill us are the ones that people are looking to for support and help, like governments and people in power. They are the ones who don't care about your health and don't care about your safety. It's all very backwards, but yeah, like I said, it's all by design.
At the Russians, like they did in the Cold War, or the Islamists after 9/11, now they admit that their main focus is Christian conservatives and the bitter clingers and the people that live in rural America, that quote, white people, I mean, it says that in the report, are the main terror threat. And so this whole apparatus of the war on terror it has now been turned inwardly against the people, not just here, but also in Europe, where if someone criticizes transgenderism in the UK, they come to their house and arrest them. If a journalist does that, they come to their house and arrest them. If somebody says, I think these surveillance cameras should start getting cut down, they come to their house and they arrest them for their free speech. And so this is a global movement by the mega corporations, by the BlackRocks and the State Streets and the Vanguards that control 80+% of world wealth to control our behavior. And Larry Fink of BlackRock has said that at the Davos Group repeatedly. We're going to use our control over all this finance and this global social credit score we're rolling out to control people's behavior. So that's really what this is. And then they use the threat of global warming. They use the threat of a virus. They use the threat of radical Islam to take our rights, but we really are the target.
Even if I...
So true. So glad he's talking about the New World Order and all of the evil rules they're going to impose on people. I talk about this all the time. I do outreach, like on the streets, on the tubes. I walk around, I give people leaflets about it. I'm always publicly speaking about this because I think it's probably the most important thing. Everyone's all worried about, smaller things that are only affecting a small group of people. They're not realizing that what's coming soon, literally before the year 2030, which is the goal that they've set themselves, it's so much worse because it's going to affect everyone. It's going to be a worldwide problem that we all have to deal with if we don't stop it from happening. So yeah, it needs to be spoken about. I don't want to live like people in China. I don't want to have to worry about what I'm talking about. I want to be able to speak freely. I don't want to be punished for being naughty and speaking out against the government, which I literally do every single day. It's going to happen if we allow it to. So yeah, we've got to do something about this.
Foot above sea level, and of course it's still there and it hasn't flooded. I mean, a chef died there, drowned sadly, but no flooding inside the house, just the dead chef. So they're waging war against civilization and society to make us poor, to put us under siege, and to cut off our energy, make the cost of living impossible, to break our old system, to bring in something even worse. And that's the Cloward and Piven strategy that the Democratic Party has adopted. They've done the same thing in Europe. This is a plan. The central banks have unlimited money. but they can't buy all the infrastructure up because people aren't selling.
You know, this is the way that they come into power. It's happened throughout history. History is a cycle. It just repeats itself over and over again. Hitler did the same thing. Not Hitler himself, but the German government put their people under such stress through financial issues, economical issues. They went through complete hyperinflation. People couldn't even afford to buy, a loaf of bread with their life savings at that point. That's how bad it was for them. And people were so desperate for a change. And I believe that this happened on purpose. I believe that they caused the hyperinflation to happen on purpose. I believe it was all by design in order to weaken the people and basically have them beg for a new leader who can take them out of it. And Hitler was their chosen leader to take them out of it because he was a great public speaker. He was very, very strong-minded. He seemed very capable of handling the country's problems. And he came into power because people were so desperate for someone strong to come in and offer them a solution. So they created the problem and then they handed the solution, which they thought was Hitler. And he was able to come to power by using this strategy. I think he definitely did profit off of the people suffering. And then he created a new currency. So he did actually solve the problem of the hyperinflation. But look at all the other things that happened and people just accepted it because they felt they had to. And that's what's going to happen now. They're making everyone so weak. We're seeing it every day. We're being fed all of these depressing, horrible events, just constant in the news. Oh, this is happening. Oh, there's this new war. Oh, there's another new war now. Oh, look, you have to wear masks. Oh, there's a new illness that's killing everyone. Look at all the deaths. They're depressing people so much so that they feel weak and that they basically accept anything at that point. Like they just want a leader to come in and offer them the solutions to the problems that the leaders created. I went on a rant, sorry, but that's just what's happening and it's happened throughout history and he's highlighting this, which I'm very glad about.
So they've got to crush us and make people so poor that everybody's forced to sell their business, their intellectual property, their physical property, but more importantly, to turn over our bodies to them. We're a UN treaty that Biden right now that's what I call Biden is trying to ratify, would literally put our bodies under the control of the United Nations and our medical care policy under it. So
it's the pandemic
treaty.
Yeah.
So what this is really a breaking of our will, a demoralization. That's what the transgenderism is, and 2 men can have a baby, and puberty blockers, and castrating little boys, and cutting little girls' breasts off. They've got such hellish stuff coming in this designed global collapse to bring in their world government that they've got to just have all these horrors out there, hoping we just throw up our hands and run off to the countryside, which everybody's doing, and in a way that's good. But at the same time, then they've got full control.
That's totally right.
And they're going to march out of the countryside next and dig us out.
So
oh my goodness. Yeah. That's just what I was saying a second ago, so we're on the same page clearly. I do have that plan to go off grid and to create a new life somewhere else, away from the city, away from all of the restrictions and mandates and evil, tyrannical measures that they're going to put in place. That's my plan. I want to farm. I want to be completely self-sufficient, so I don't have to rely on the government or supermarkets, which can be controlled by the government, for food. I want to be able to provide my own food and my own water and my own, be completely sustainable for myself and my family. A lot of people are having the same idea, but what he's saying here is everyone will go and do that. Not everyone, but the strong people, the people who don't want to comply with tyranny, they're going to go off and live their own life in the countryside and, be away from the city and be away from all these measures and be self-sustainable. But then eventually they're going to come after them. It's a possibility. I think I'd take that risk personally, but it is scary. It kind of feels like that there is no getaway. There is no escape. Don't know. We'll see.
Crop. But then a cash crop. But then we see that and we think it's all over. There's nothing we can do to demoralize us and make us give up. And even though I'm conscious of this, even though I know this, it's still at a DNA level. I'm like, I got to go to the country. I got to get out of here. I've got to separate myself from this. But then when they release this toxic, cultural, poisonous gas, they push us out of those areas and they get the main infrastructure to then organize that, cut off the food and supplies to that group they have, and then tell them the reason you're doing bad is not BlackRock and the WF and Bill Gates. It's all those evil people in the countryside. They're all white supremacists and terrorists and racists. Let's go get them. Because the last group they don't control is rural people that are self-sufficient. And so I get going to the countryside, protecting your children. That's the holy grail. The problem is you got to have 1 foot in each. You got to go back and fight in the city for the infrastructure, for the government. You got to give people hope while also building a backup operation with farming and ranching and self-sufficiency. So that's why the WEF and the UN are coming in Ireland and in areas of Asia and in the Netherlands and saying by 2030, 80% of your cows have got to be dead. And they just banned like 30% this year in the Netherlands. And it didn't matter people were 80% against it in polls. It didn't matter. They sent the military in against the peaceful farmers that were just protesting, just like the peaceful truckers in Canada got brutally attacked. And so they're all WEF globalist alumni that the big banks on record brag. They've penetrated the cabinets, to quote Klaus Schwab. They've put their operatives in to cut off our energy, demoralize us, release the hardened criminals, put the political activists in prison, continue to cut off the resources to make an angrier world. Klaus Schwab says, we're going to make the world collapse. We're going to have everybody turn against each other. We're going to blame the political classes that we own and control. And then when we're done, we'll bring in our new solution. But first, they have to demolish the cultures and societies that we had before with the fentanyl, with the open borders, with the demoralization, and then they bring in their next phase, which is a high-tech, cashless society, robot, drone-controlled nightmare. More than half of the U.S. in their official UN maps that they've had for more than 25 years, they're in some of my first films, show half the U.S. off limits to humans. All cars will have to have GPS. Everybody by law will have to have a cell phone at all times. Australia just did this last year, tried to push it through. And that's the admitted global UN standardized plan where you don't leave your house without a cell phone. Every car is robot kill switch, GPS controlled. California is moving to ban all the quote classic cars. That's any car that doesn't have a digital ignition. And they admit it's for control. So
Okay, so let's say you've made an Instagram post which is against one of the tyrannical measures the government's just put in place. For example, you can't leave the house without a face nappy on your face. Yeah, imagine that. Then you get into your car to drive to your mum's house, for example. And obviously at this point, all cars are electric and they have, electric switches to turn them on. You press it, it doesn't turn on because you've been switched off by the government. Your car's been switched off. You now can't travel. Imagine that. It's not crazy to me anymore. Like, if you told me this 4 years ago, I'd be like, okay, you are mental, leave me alone, you weirdo, you're crazy, you're so paranoid. Now I'm like, yeah, of course it's gonna happen. And they're saying it, they're laying out their plans. Just wait, or try and do something to stop it. Please, guys, come on.
if people think things are bad now, the straitjacket, the ball and chain is going on. It's all being militarily run. Our military is great men and women, but at the top, our military has been...
His face! He's just in shock. It's like he was going, what the fuck? We've all been there.
Globalist trained New World Order people for at least 30, 40 years. They've got almost every general, every person under their control. And that's why it came out in the UK and Europe and also here in Canada. You pull up the headlines. Defense Department purposely scared public into lockdowns, masking, and taking inoculations. UK headline, British Ministry of Defense secretly brainwashed and terrorized public. Canada, same headline. They even let you know, the military is here to do this. And now, the CIA and Justice Department is there to help surveil the public to stop disinformation. And it turned out, of course, almost all that disinformation was true.
Always.
It's like the 77th Brigade, who are in the UK, literally employed by the government to spy on people's social medias and basically try and divert them from their followers, if you know what I mean. So whatever they were saying, just spewing absolute lie comments about the opposite to what they were saying. So me, for example, I got targeted by the 77th Brigade. Whenever I went on a BBC 2 documentary called Uninjected, I'm going to say for the purposes of this video. And they targeted my social media after that because I gained loads of followers and I began to actually reach quite a large audience, and they targeted me for it. And they would, say that I'm posting disinformation. They'd report my account over and over and over again to try and get it removed. I got many warnings for this, and they would basically absolutely spam all of my posts with comments saying that what I'm saying is incorrect, and then they'd have the opposite science, which is literally from like a study that was paid for by the companies that I was speaking out against. So, you know, quite a conflict of interest there. But yeah, what he's saying is basically like the American equivalent to that. And it happens, like the government literally funds people to speak out against people who are speaking out against the government. Very long-winded way of saying it, but yeah.
About everything. So we have to understand, our governments have been seized. The big corporations want to get rid of the American idea. Like you got 50 acres and your house and a business and a farm and you can take care of your family and you're independent. They have to destroy all that because the rest of the world aspires to that. Instead, they want 15-minute cities, central bank digital currencies. They want all of these systems that track and trace everything you do in the social credit scores. And the plan for the rest of the public, I mean, we're talking 99%, is 250 square foot coffin apartments, 5G bathing you in them, literally eating bug protein. And I told people 10 years ago they're going to push bugs on the public because I read it in their white papers. Now it's already in grocery stores all over the US, all over Europe. They're putting the cricket meal into the food, very toxic.
Undisclosed, yeah.
It's got chitin in it. Yeah, they'll just give it a number. It's got like a code.
Hear that? You're eating bugs without even knowing that you're eating bugs. They're putting bugs in your food and then they just put it in the ingredients as a number so you don't even know what you're eating. And then you're eating bugs without realizing it. So guys, start cooking for yourself. Stop eating rubbish food with ingredients that you can't even read or you don't even know what they are, with numbers in them, numbers. Don't eat that food. Eat food that has one ingredient in it. You know, you can cook something at home. You don't need to buy ready bought food from the supermarket. You don't even know what you're eating. Don't trust these people with your health.
You ask again, why would you do that? Because it's all about breaking our will. They don't want people to aspire to open, free societies. Yeah, there's a lot of waste, there's decadence, there's issues, but there's freedom. They want to train us to live on carbon rationing, food rationing, a very dystopic world. You'll own nothing, you'll have nothing, and you'll be happy. Now, these are quotes.
I have to say,
yeah, Klaus Schwab, leader of the World Economic Forum, said, "You'll own nothing and be happy." So trust him, trust him.
right now, of you critiquing Brian Stelter, and you take him way more seriously than I ever did, and I think you're right to. So this is a pretty famous clip of you on Brian Stelter.
Hell on earth. He wants to run your life. He wants to control every aspect of your life because he knows he is a cowardly, degenerate sack of anti-human trash. I pledge before my Heavenly Father that I will resist them every way I can. These people are the literal demon spawn of the pit of hell. Look at him. And you know what? He is better than you if you keep letting him run your life. He runs your kids. He runs the schools. He runs the banks. This guy, this spirit, this smiling, leering devil that thinks you can't see what he is your enemy. Period. All the narcissistic, devil-worshipping filth. I see you, enemy. I see you, enemy. 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 You are my enemy.
That's so me. That is me to every single member of the World Economic Forum. Like, that's how this is what goes through my mind every single day.
Disingenuous, fake, false, broke back, twisted. A defiler, a betrayer, a backstabber, a devil. You don't think I don't see you, Stelter? I see you. You understand me? I know what you think of me and my family. I see you right back. You understand that? You understand that, Stelter?
I've only watched that several hundred times.
Oh my gosh. No, that's literally very relatable. Very relatable.
Right. So maybe we can stop the next phase of it. But the globalists have gone from testing phase, beta test phase, into full operational now. And they say, read their writings, we are going to have a post-industrial world by 2030. We will have no personal cars by 2030. You will be eating bugs by 2030. And we will start the depopulation of 90% of the people by 2045. That is the official WWF
Sorry, 90% of the population, they want to remove them. They want to somehow kill them off in such a short space of time. And they're telling you this, guys. They are telling you this. This is their plan. And if you don't take them seriously, that's your own problem. You really don't think that they're being serious about their own plans. Like, come on, that is the plan they've got. They have a lot of power. I think you underestimate the amount of power they have if you give it to them. But at the moment, people are giving them power. So they do have that power. It's up to us to take that power back now. And you can do that by speaking out against what they're doing. You can do that by just having conversations with friends and family and getting them to understand what's going on. You can show them the evidence. You can show them videos like this. We need to do something. We need to do something before this happens because they are trying to kill us off.
Official UN, official Club of Rome plan.
What do you mean the depopulation?
They want to bring the world population down to 500 million.
But I thought we were opposed to genocide. No or no? I guess we're not.
Well, we're told now, don't have children, it's bad for the earth. And we're told all this, and Elon Musk is right and is a hero for pointing out all the actuaries show, if you don't have 2.1 children, a man and a woman, people go, well, a man and a woman can have 2.1. It's in the aggregate, folks, out of billions. If a country doesn't have 2.1, 2.2 replacement rate, then you don't have people to take care of the old folks, society collapses. And so Japan's 1.3, Italy's 1.3, they're done as cultures. America, without immigrant influx, is about 1.6. That's not viable. And I'm not just talking about white people only here, but white people are 7% of the world population, maybe 8%. And so I would be sad if the last of the Eskimos were dying. I'm sad that the Japanese, within 100 years, there might be 20 million of them.
But just to my previous question.
This is why I want to have around 7 children or more. And I know people hear me saying this and they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. You'll have a few and then you'll be like, I'm done. I really don't believe that I will do that. I believe that I'll carry on having children because I do believe that it's my duty as someone who is a Christian and who does believe in God and who reads the Bible religiously as one should. As a Christian, it tells you to be fruitful and multiply, yeah? And that's for a reason. And what they're telling you in the media is that you shouldn't multiply, that you should actually stop multiplying or at least limit the amount that you multiply by because apparently it's bad for the environment and it causes global warming, which is a total scam, by the way. It's a scam. Climate's changed since the beginning of time. It goes hotter, it goes colder, the earth fluctuates in temperature. It's just natural. It's going to happen regardless of whether we change our habits or not. Our habits have nothing to do with the earth getting hotter. It's a natural cycle, first of all. But they're using global warming as a tactic to scare us into not having children. And as a result, they are fulfilling their plan of lowering the population by, how much was it? 80%? 90%? I can't remember what they said, but a crazy amount of people are going to have to die, and they're going to try and limit the amount of people who come into the world by telling us not to reproduce. Guys, have as many children as you can because we need to fight back somehow. What they're telling us is a lie. Stick to your truth. Have as many children as you can. That's what I'm going to say.
Question about, and without getting too personal, but I feel a little bit enervated and down just hearing your dot connecting here. What's the effect on you over 25 years? If you literally foresee 9/11 before it happens, and you did, and it can be proven, we just proved it. What's that like to live with that weird ability?
Well, I know a specific clip. I specifically say, call the White House, tell them we know they're going to let Al Qaeda attack us, Bin Laden, and then take our rights. And I say, call the White House. I put the number out, so I put my money where my mouth was. And that's the only time I ever said call the White House and tell them stop a particular event. I'm now saying we need to call the White House and say, you've let tens of thousands of military-aged men from the Middle East in. We know a lot of them are Hezbollah and Hamas. The FBI has confirmed that. And so when and if there's big terror attacks, which I believe will probably happen in America, we're not going to have Homeland Security get more funds and more power and grope us at the airports more. I want prison time for the agencies and groups that have allowed this. And I want Biden. I want Biden impeached now. Okay. That's why we got rid of McCarthy. It needs to happen. Leaving the border open when there is a clear and present danger of this going on, and when we're very close to war with Iran, we go to war with Iran, they're going to activate Hezbollah. Okay. And then they make Hamas look like choir boys. And so you want to hear a prediction here. It's a probability, not a pure prediction. But if we go to war with Iran, guaranteed sleeper cells activate. It'll make what happened in Israel look tame in comparison. I'm not lessening what happened there. So I'm simply, and then again, where's the logic? The government that allows that to happen should go to prison.
I agree.
But instead, like 9/11, they're going to get more power when it happens. Mark my words. So
you can't have guns because we let in foreign sleeper cells to kill you.
Exactly. And you asked the question. This has really taken a toll on me, not the fake lawsuits, not the weaponization, not the deplatforming. I was already getting exhausted 5-6 years ago. And when I married my second wife, who's amazing, I have 3 children with my previous wife, and one they're all great children, and one with her. We were in Hawaii getting married like 7 years ago. And I said to her, I want to just write books and make documentary films and maybe do an occasional podcast. At that time, I've been on air like 22 years, 6 days a week, 3 hours a day at least. And I said, I just don't want this burden, this big crew. I love the crew, but I don't want to do this anymore. I said, I want to move the country, and I want to just, because it's taken a physical toll to every day look at this stuff. And now I've gotten to the point, which even though I say don't let them break your will, don't let them demoralize you, that's because I understand the process. It's happened to me. Used to, I'd have hundreds of incredible stories and clips every day. I couldn't wait to expose the bad guys. Now I look at it once, I'm ready, I study it, and then half the time I get on air and I just go, let's just take calls, or I start talking about some fun story just because I mentally cannot sit there and stare into the abyss and stare at Biden or their press secretary that's meant to enrage us and demoralize us. And I think that's a defense mechanism that's healthy. So I think we all have to be balanced. I'm not asking people to only fight tyranny. I'm asking people to get prepared, get ready, but wake up as many people as you can, and then do whatever you have to stay sane, because we have record suicide, we have record depression, we have record drug abuse. This country has been attacked. And if you read deeper into the globalist writings, they admit they're doing it. And so we have to be aware of it. If you're aware of an attack and aware of a manipulation, it doesn't give you full immunity from it.
No, it doesn't.
But it gives you a buffer. Imagine people that don't know what's going on and they really believe things are dangerous, things are bad, not because of the corrupt corporations that are running things, but because those evil people in the countryside don't want to be left alone. And that's what they're saying on the news. It's the people in the middle of nowhere that want to be left alone. They're the bad guys, and it's the 5-year-old kid that's white. They're really bad. They're all inherently really bad, and just this is a demonic assault.
Yeah, I think we all know what he means when he's saying how it affects his sort of mental space, hearing and seeing all of this daily, because I would say the people who are asleep to what's really going on, they hear the depressing stuff in the news, but that's just half of it. So they only hear half of it. They only hear half of the depressing news. They only feel half of the depression. Whereas the ones who are awake, they see that depressing news, they feel that depressing news, but because they know what's really causing it, and they know that it's people who are meant to be helping them and, giving them aid in these situations, who are actually in control of these depressing events, they feel double the depression and double the doom, because they can see it. They can see what's going to happen. I mean, I'd rather be awake and know what's going on and feel that depression than be in denial and live in a delusion and not understand what's coming my way. I'd rather know and be able to be one step ahead. So I am grateful that I have had that. But there are days where I'm like, man, I wish I was just asleep. I wish I was like that person on the tube with their headphones in, listening to music and being happy and not realizing what's coming, because sometimes it is too much of a burden for me to be able to hold. And I think anyone who's awake has felt that way before, at least once. Like, it's hard, but we do have a duty now that we do know what's going on to spread it and to, spread the message and allow people to at least have that warning and be able to prepare themselves for what's to come. Anyway, I'm not going to go on anymore. If you liked this video and if you enjoyed learning all of this information, if you didn't already know it, then please give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comments. What are your predictions? What do you think is going to happen in the next few years before 2030? And how have you dealt with what's happened in the past few years when it comes to, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say the word because I'll get censored for it. You can also subscribe to my channel for more informative content like this. And I'll see you in the next video.